Slide some oil to me. Let it trickle down my spine. If you don't have STP, Crisco will do just fine. Slide some to my elbow and to my fingers, if you would. Slide some oil to me, girl. Woo! Don't that feel good?
Slide some oil to me here on episode 21 of the 1200 Films podcast. Of course, that opening clip was from The Wiz, a very underrated film made in 1978 with Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, among others, Richard Pryor. But, 500 films down now. In 2015, it was a fun project I did to watch 500 films and then rank them all. And now I've done 500 in 5.5 months. So that's pretty impressive. So that's pretty good. Yeah. So let's get going. 476, Goodbye, Christopher Robin. This was a delightful little film. I enjoyed. Domhnall Gleeson plays A.A. Milne, the writer of Winnie the Pooh. Of course, everyone knows about Winnie the Pooh. The movie starts several years before he wrote Winnie the Pooh, and he goes to World War One, and he goes through a lot during World War One, and he comes back and he's obviously suffering from some PTSD. Because every time an explosion or a bang goes off, he thinks he's, back in the war. So he takes his family and moves out to the middle of nowhere, surrounded by woods everywhere. And he has this little son. And Winnie the Pooh is basically based on his son's characters that he made with his stuffed animals. And his son is also named Christopher Robin. So he used the son's name for the book and the main character of that book, with his little stuffed animals portraying real animals. And then once the book got famous, the author's son, Christopher Robin, also got very famous. And then the poor kid had to start school. And that poor kid was teased quite badly. I can't imagine. And he kind of held a grudge against his dad, but what can you do? But still a very sweet, nice little movie. 477, Little Odessa, Tim Roth and Edward Furlong. Edward Furlong, probably know from Terminator 2, only had about a 5-year stretch where he did films. But he made some good films. He had a good little stretch before he vanished. But anyway, this movie, Tim Roth is kind of like a hitman for the local mafia, I guess. And Ed Furlong is his little brother. And Tim Roth is trying to hold his rep as being a badass and somebody you don't mess with, at the same time of trying to be a good big brother to his little brother. And of course, Ed Furlong looks up to Tim Roth and wants to be like big bro, and the parents know that Tim Roth is garbage, so they're trying to keep them away from each other, but doesn't work so well. But yeah, interesting little film, Little Odessa. Yeah, another good Ed Furlong movie. 478, Raising Flagg. This was a little known Alan Arkin movie that didn't come out not too long ago. He plays a little, it's like a small time farmer, and he has this, how do you describe this? His water line is fenced in, and then the owner of the property that he rents from puts these goats in the little area where the water line is, and so Alan Arkin says, that's baloney, I'm going to sue you, and he sues and wins, but the town is so upset that he sued one of the most beloved people in town just because he put a couple goats near his water line that they all kind of boycott everything he tries to sell. He sells eggs and stuff because he's got a little farm. And so, yeah, it goes from there. But, yeah, interesting little movie. Very low budget, but not bad. Um, $4.79. Our Brand of Crisis. This movie. All the reviews I read said it was very interesting, but also very sad. I didn't think it was sad, but it's enlightening. But Julia Roberts plays this, based on a true story. She plays this political mastermind, I guess, of Republicans in the 90s and early 2000s, where she had a good stretch there, then lost a few, and then retired. And just kind of disappeared from the scene and kind of went and lived out in the middle of nowhere by herself. And then these people go out and get her because there's an election in South America and they want to use her to help get this guy elected. So she begrudgingly does it and then gets back into the scene with her old rivals showing up against her. And the candidate, I can't remember the candidate's name, but he was not really interested in running. He was just kind of there and appeared and showed up and did the minimum he had to do. But yeah, they completely twisted facts and twisted people's opinions to get this Joker elected. It was fascinating how that can be done. But yeah, interesting. $4.80, Stir Crazy, an old Richard Pryor, Gene Wilder movie. Also co-starred Dynamo, who was in The Running Man with Arnold Schwarzenegger. This movie and the next movie will also have Dynamo. I looked up his filmology, which is a very short list, but I wanted to see what else he's done, and Stir Crazy popped up, so I said, let's watch it. Somewhat funny movie. Richard Pryor usually is pretty good, and Wilder is sometimes. They get framed for a bank robbery, and they have to go to prison, and kind of just have to survive, basically. So they kind of make friends with who they can, and then they kind of hatch this escape plan to get out. But yeah, not a bad movie. Then the next one, for $4.81, The Wanderers. Basically, there's some side stories that are kind of unimportant, but basically it's about these rival gangs. It's set in the 50s, but I think it was made in 79. It was these rival street gangs. The Wanderers was the Italians, and then there's the Baldies, something Baldies. I hope you can't hear those chainsaws in the back. People are chopping branches off. But anyway, it's about gang warfare, and of course one of them has this love thing going on with a woman, and the main guy does, and then the Baldies attack a small group of the Wanderers, and then it kind of escalates from there. But not a horrible movie. $4.82, Quid Pro Quo. Another film where the trailer was a little deceptive of what this film actually was. But anyway, what it is about. This writer for this magazine, who is wheelchair bound, is doing stories. He was writing a story about people who pretend to be handicapped. And some go as far as to be completely like a vegetable state and have to have a breathing tube and everything, but they're just faking. And some of them want to have limbs amputated and just to get sympathy. And he kind of infiltrates this support group of all these people and is like, what are you people doing? You're weird. But yeah, it takes some weird turns. But yeah, this different kind of movie. But not bad. $4.83, The Underground. This was kind of a nothing documentary about Pentagon's black money. What black money is money that's completely untraceable. There's hundreds and hundreds of millions and billions of dollars that no one knows where it goes or what it's used for. And that's in this documentary kind of assumes, oh, it's used for this technology, it's used for covering up aliens or whatever. Okay. It's basically a bunch of hypotheses. But it was not great. 484, another not great movie. Wonder Wheel, great cast though. Jim Belushi, Justin Timberlake, Kate Winslet. It's kind of a nothing melodrama that takes place in Coney Island back in the 50s. And Justin Timberlake cheats on Belushi's wife, and then he falls in love with the daughter, and then the daughter disappears, and Jim Belushi's character, how do you describe this? He seemed to play like a caricature, but not like a real person. He was always kind of amped up and never really brought it down. I don't know, it's hard to describe, but yeah, not great. 485, this was weird. Miami Blues, Alec Baldwin. Okay, follow me here. Baldwin kills this guy by breaking his finger, no joke. And then he has this obsession with this very, very young prostitute, like barely 18. And then he ends up getting a place with her while he goes around town in his free time pretending to be a cop, pretending to arrest people. Then he just beats the crap out of them and takes their money. And he does this time and time again. And eventually the cops are kind of honing in on him while he's doing all these little, exercises of robbing people. But, interesting. 486, The Most Dangerous Game, from 1932. This was the original hunter hunting human being movie. This was the very first one. This guy, this group of people, their boat crashes, and one guy makes it to shore, and there's this big mansion in the middle of this island. And the guy, he helps him, get healthy and feeds him and lets him stay there for a while. Then he's like, now go out, because I'm going to hunt you. Basically, that's what happens. Well, at first he wanted him to be his friend, his hunting buddy, and go hunting people together. Then the dude that shipwrecked was like, screw you. So then he became the hunted. But yeah, for 1932, interesting film. Very good, yep. 487, Hologram for the King, Tom Hanks. He was, as I've said before on the show, 97% reliable. Dragnet was not great. So he's paid by his company to go to Saudi Arabia to meet the king and to show him this hologram thing so he can communicate with people all around the world just via hologram, so they don't have to, so he doesn't have to go everywhere all the time. And unbeknownst to him, the king doesn't really show up for anything ever. He just randomly appears, so he's kind of stuck there in Saudi Arabia for days and days and weeks, waiting for the king to show up, when he was told the king would show up the next day. So he's there making friends. And then he has this, this growth on his back that he's messing with, and he has to go to the doctor to get that taken care of, and befriends the doctor, and yada yada yada. Not a bad film. It's cute. It's something you can watch with mom in the room, or have her watch it with you. Whatever, it's fine. 488, The Strangers Pray at Night. I was kind of mixed on the first Strangers movie. I thought it was okay, but this one, it's compared to recent horror films, this one is a change of pace. There's not so many jump scares like there are nowadays. This film's kind of more subtle about it. They just stalk you, stab at you, and then ultimately kill you. And that's about it. It said it was based on true stories, but the story is so basic and generic it could happen anywhere. But yeah, this family goes to meet this group. I think that's what was happening. Oh, they had to move. And they were moving out to this trailer homes, and when they got there, there was no one around, and because they've all been killed off. I mean, then the killers start attacking them, and yep, goes from there. It's pretty predictable. Yeah, here we go. Black Panther, 489. Here we go. Fine movie. Dare I say good? Pretty good. But one fatal flaw. The guy that played the bad Black Panther, the guy from Creed, what the hell is his name? Michael B. Jordan. Well, Michael B. not acting very good. Or as the wench from The Princess Bride would say,
Boo! Boo! Rubbish! Filth! Slime! Muck! Boo! Boo! Boo!
yes, boo, Michael B. Jordan, boo. How can someone be so good in Crean and be completely horrible in this? There was a part where it stood out there where he lifted his sleeve up and said, check this out, one for every kill. Like, ugh. It's like he wasn't even trying. It's like he was forced to do this role. It's like someone held him at gunpoint and said, you're going to do this role or we will shoot you. So out of being stubborn, he just says, well, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it bad. Other than that, fine film. Black Panther. 490. Suburbicon. Unusual Matt Damon film. It starts off in this town of all white people, and a black family moves in, and everyone loses their minds, and so we got to get this black family out. And then it shifts completely to Matt Damon's family, where these two intruders invade the home, and they kill the wife while everyone else is just watching and tied up to a chair, just forced to watch this. There's the sister of the wife, and then Matt Damon, the husband, and then the little kid. And then the police pick up the killers, but then when Matt Damon and the family go to ID the killers are right there in front of them, but they won't ID them. And the kids, like, what the heck? Those guys did it, but the parents wouldn't say anything. So you kind of figured, oh, Matt Damon had his wife killed. And then the storyline with the black family also kind of gets intertwined a bit, but it's still unusual. Oscar Isaac also appears as the insurance guy, and he can also tell that something's a little aloof with this plan. But yeah, decent little film. 491, Year of the Dragon. Old Mickey Rourke movie. He plays this Vietnam vet that is the captain of Chinatown in New York, and he's trying to stop all the gang mob warfare going on. And then there's this side story where he's having a thing with this Asian reporter because his wife hates his guts and hates everything he says and does. But it's weird seeing him play as such a good guy, but he's still kind of slimy. But it's decent enough. Speaking of slimy, 492 Cop, James Woods. This is, if you like gritty, slimy, dark, gruesome 80s films, then this one is your cup of tea. This James Woods plays this cop, a detective, and there's this guy going around killing women, and he kind of takes a nonchalant attitude towards it, and he also has a struggling marriage, just like we saw in Suburbicon, but I'm not quite to that level. But it seems like all these main characters have bad marriages. Um, anyway, yeah, he's going after the serial killer, and the serial killer keeps killing gruesomely. And yeah, that's I don't know what to say about it, but yeah, interesting, very, like I said, dark. 493, Walking Out. Matt Bomer. I didn't realize what a great actor he was until I saw him on some late night talk show, and I just had it on in the background. I'm like, who is that talking? And I looked to see who it was, and it was Matt Bomer. He does not talk normally like he does in his films. So that tells you he has to completely switch everything when he goes in actor mode. And he's like a completely different human being. But he is a dad of this, I don't know what, a 14-year-old, and they're he's got like partial custody, and they're going out in the woods hunting. Yes, we've heard this scenario 100 times in this countdown, but that's what happens here. And of course, things go wrong, and the bear attacks. And during the bear attack, Bomer gets shot in the leg, and the kid has to pretty much carry his father up the hill and through the woods to try to get to safety. This has a little bit more heart than some of those other Lost in the Woods movies, but it's not bad. Not bad at all. 494, Jinxed. One of the guys from The Wanderers, I checked it out to see what else he done, and he hasn't done much, but Ken Wall, I think his name is. But I saw he did this one movie with Bette Midler and Rip Torn called Jinxed, and that's where we are, 494. Bette Midler and Rip Torn are a couple, and they kind of travel around, and Rip Torn's kind of this obsessive gambler who just walks around with two $10,000 bills in his pockets just because. But he's always trying to score the big hit and win so he can get out of, But he's a bad gambler, so he doesn't always win. But he found this one dealer that he always wins on, and he wins on until the casino comes and replaces the dealer. Apparently the dealer has been fired from multiple places in multiple cities because Rip Torn always finds where this dealer is so he can take advantage of him. So the dealer was told by a psychic or somebody that to stop this, he has to take something from the guy that's taking advantage of him. So he decides to go sleep with his wife, Bette Midler. And then they kind of form a connection, and then they decide the best option is to kill Rip Torn so they can run off together. And that's kind of where it goes from there. Not a bad film. There's just not much chemistry between the blackjack dealer and Bette Midler, but not a horrible film. 495. This was from the 50s. Cheesy sci-fi called Robot Monster. This group of this family and these scientists. I guess there's a scientist in these caves, and their family lives nearby, and then there's a invasion, and this alien robot who's called Roman, who's a robot man. So that's how he gets the name Roman, but he's dressed in a gorilla suit with a space helmet on, and he speaks perfect English, and he's killed everyone on Earth except for these 5 people. And the boss from his home planet is not happy until he finishes off these last few people. Kills billions and millions of people, but your job isn't done, Roman. You have to kill these last 5, or else you're a loser. So these last 5 put up resistance to fight off Roman, and at the end of it, it made sense. You could put it together and say, now it comes together. But cheesy fun. $4.96, The Manor. I don't know about you, but when I get a DVD, I always watch the trailers in the beginning because it gives me idea for movies, and sometimes it's given me ideas for great movies. But sometimes you can tell by the trailers what kind of movie you're just about to watch. Like when you happen to get a faith-based movie, like, oh no, all these trailers are help me Jesus, help me that, and you're going to be in trouble. And judging by the low quality of these trailers, I could tell the Manor was going to be a B movie. Well, I got it because it had Kevin Nash, an ex-pro wrestler, a completely immobile pro wrestler who is now a 55-year-old, utterly, completely immobile actor, but still an interesting presence. And he's done some interesting roles, but he's barely in this. The storyline is garbage. It's like a retreat home with people, and this one woman's having psychic visions of what's going to happen, and there's a killer, and completely garbage. B-level, nothing. $4.97. This was not B-level. This was A-level. This was Dunkirk. Very, very good war film. It has Tom Hardy and Cillian Murphy. And then I was talking to someone about it, and she was like, yeah, it's got Harry Styles. I'm like, who the hell is Harry Styles? He's like, he's the guy from One Direction. I'm like, what the hell is One Direction? That boy band that was big 10 years ago. Like, oh, One Direction. Harry Styles. Oh, should have known. But yeah, it's differently told war film. It's not, kind of jumps around a little bit and kind of focuses on certain characters, and then later they kind of overlap, and you kind of see, oh, okay, that's what's going on. But yeah, very, very well done, very interesting. Each one kind of has their own, plight, I guess, but well-made movie. $4.98. Where is Robert Fisher? Documentary. This was interesting. This guy, he kills his little kids by cutting their throat, and then he cuts the throat of his wife, and then shoots her in the head, and then burns down the house, and then takes off. And then this guy had tons of money in the bank, but he only withdrew like $180 before he vanished that night. And there's some other weird things that happened, but then there's then police could not find this guy. There was a few fleeting, at best, eyewitness reports of people that think they saw him, but he kind of has that appearance where he kind of just blends in and looks like everybody. But interesting nonetheless. Then I gotta tell you about this part. They I'm not giving away much, but this is the middle of the documentary. They found his van that he escaped in, and his dog that went with him, and the dog was just nestled underneath the van, but he's nowhere to be found. And they find this van in the middle of nowhere, like out in the wilderness, and his dog's just chilling, but he's long gone. Nothing in the trunk, nothing in the car, nothing. Weird. There's a lot of weird things about this story, but interesting documentary about a weird case. But yeah, I recommend that one if you can get it. $4.99. Rich and Strange. This was the first non-silent Alfred Hitchcock movie about this couple that was bitching about not being rich, and suddenly they inherit all this money, and then they go on this cruise because he always wanted to go on a cruise because that's what rich folk do. And then by the time the cruise is over, they both find new people they want to get off the boat with and start new lives with. Then before they can turn around, after they get off the boat, they both don't have this other person anymore, so they get back together. And they end up on another boat And then that boat sinks, or starts sinking, and they can't get out of the room, so they think they're just going to die. And then they wake up, and they're still alive in the boat, and the boat hasn't sunk, and they just start walking around the boat trying to see what to do, how they get off this boat. And then these then these Asian pirates, I guess, show up, and they hitch a ride with them. And old movies are weird, but sometimes they're interesting. Number 500, another Hitchcock movie, The 39 Steps. This wasn't as good as The Rich and Strange, but this guy is coming from the theater, and this woman approaches him and pretty much says, "I want to go home with you." And the guy's like, "Okay, let's go." And then when they get home, the woman tells this guy that she's a spy and she's on the run, and these two people are outside are trying to kill her. And then before you know it, she ends up dead, and so he's on the run trying to avoid these guys that just killed her. Well, he thinks they killed her, so he's on the run, and then he gets handcuffed with this other woman, and then you have to run off together because they're handcuffed. And yeah, not as good. But that's 500 down. So yep, I don't have much else to say about that. But on the next one, we'll have a movie that is public domain. Movie, yes, that is actually free for you and I or whoever to copy and sell on the street legally. So I'll be watching that. But other than that, I have no idea. I think I got some more 70s movies, and I'll probably watch some more Hitchcock, but we'll see. Talk to you later.